Picture me in a sun-washed room, hands around a warm mug, telling an unseen listener the facts and feelings behind them. I take a deep breath, square my shoulders, and step into the role of narrator for the whirlwind of moments that recently unfolded in my life, a stretch of days and conversations that feel like the pivot point between an old existence and a brave new one. What follows is neither a tidy summary nor a verbatim transcript. It is my attempt to explain how each scene looked, sounded, and more important, felt from inside my own skin, so that you can appreciate the complexity and, I hope, the hard-won clarity that eventually emerged. The first sensation worth describing is the jolt of energy that woke me one crisp morning. I caught myself saying, half in jest, that I felt 55 even though the calendar insists I am a different age. The comment was shorthand for a broader epiphany. I was alive, alert, and unexpectedly optimistic. The chapter turning in front of me gleamed with possibility, and the fear that usually stalks change shrank, if only for that fleeting moment. Granted, growth remains frightening. Old routines cling to us like ivy, but that flicker of enthusiasm reminded me that the most interesting life rarely hides within a comfort zone. Part of that thrill came from the collapse of a double life I'd carried for years. In the marriage arrangement we practiced, Kody rotated among homes, visiting mine every third day. On paper, the schedule sounded fair, even flexible. In reality, it split my existence into two competing realms. There was the pattern I fashioned when he was absent. I went to sleep when exhaustion rather than obligation dictated, cooked dinners free of elaborate allergen charts, and let the household exhale in its own rhythm. Then there was the parallel world that materialized on his arrival, meals suddenly policed by dietary restrictions, bedtime pushed back or forward, conversations reshaped by his presence. Juggling those universes demanded concentration bordering on theatrical stage management. When Kody stopped visiting, relief, not regret, washed over me. The sofa stayed exactly where I liked it. Dinner reclaimed its spontaneity, and my circadian rhythm settled into a natural groove. If you had told me a decade ago that the absence of my husband would feel like a door swinging open instead of a heart slamming shut, I would have laughed. But there it is. The irony is not lost on me. That freedom, the very gift I used to tout as plural marriage's crown jewel, arrived largest once the structure itself splintered. Is that thought sad? On paper, perhaps. I sometimes picture an outsider shaking their head, labeling my relief a tragedy. Yet from the inside, it feels honest, and honesty is rarely tragic. I recall nights when I scrambled to slot Kody into my calendar, adjusting children's activities and personal aspirations so he would feel welcome. I did it willingly, even dutifully, because a cooperative spirit stood at the core of our faith and family. Still, the price was real. Now, without the perpetual reshuffling, I experience a steadiness so profound it feels like a physical weight lifting from my shoulders. Of course, nostalgia complicates everything. Even as I delight in autonomy, I remember seasons when plural marriage functioned beautifully. A well-oiled unit, we acted as a village. Women supporting one another, children weaving between homes, Kody theoretically balancing affection among us. In such moments, I felt the community plugged into my soul, and the phrase family unit meant something robust. I had a husband, I had sister wives, and I had sovereignty. Back then, independence and interdependence dovetailed rather than collided. So I can acknowledge that plural marriage was, at certain times, a really great arrangement, without pretending the model still serves me now. The story becomes pricklier when Robyn enters the frame. If you have followed our family even casually, you know Robyn often occupies the role of lightning rod. She has, in my opinion, cultivated a narrative that casts her as perennial victim. I hesitate to condemn anyone's coping mechanism. Life is arduous. But patterns matter. Robyn claims we mistreated her and her children, even as Kody showered them with favor. My children harbor deep resentment toward her, convinced she waits for any opportunity to twist their words. Whether that perception is perfectly accurate or somewhat exaggerated, the emotional fallout is undeniable. They are leery of her, and that wariness erects a wall taller than any we could build from cinder block. Respect is reciprocal, and mine dwindled. I do not hurl accusations lightly, yet I struggle to rationalize decisions that fracture rather than heal. Perhaps she senses that dwindling respect and interprets it as hateful disdain. Perhaps that is why she repeats the narrative of persecution. Regardless, the web of triangulation, flattery, and subtle manipulation my kids describe has rendered genuine reconciliation a distant dream. These interpersonal knots illustrate a broader truth. Plural marriage thrives on trust, and once trust erodes, every joint venture, from conflict resolution to holiday planning, turns labyrinthine. Shifting from interpersonal tension to logistical headache, let me walk you through the Coyote Pass land debacle, a saga that could serve as a real estate cautionary tale. Years ago, we purchased a large parcel in Flagstaff, Arizona, envisioning a collective homestead with individual lots and shared dreams. Splitting costs and responsibilities sounded feasible until other crises, emotional, marital, and financial, eroded cohesion. Eventually, Christine traded her share of the property for equity elsewhere, narrowing the ownership pool. That left Kody, Robyn, Mary, and me navigating balloon payments, title divisions, and a contractual boomerang that could yank ownership out of our hands if we missed even one deadline. With communication broken, I finally met Kody face to face. I needed clarity, a plan, or at the very least, acknowledgement of the ticking bomb. My goal was not confrontation for sport, but collaboration for survival. Yet walking into that restaurant felt like stepping onto a tightrope strung between hostile skyscrapers. Kody arrived, affable mask firmly in place, and for a moment I let myself hope. Then within minutes, he declared, he didn't feel like doing me any favors. The phrase stung until I recognized the familiar pattern. Beneath the banter lurked resentment, as though financial obligations doubled as moral favors owed only to wives in his good graces. In the serene and picturesque setting of North Carolina, Janelle Brown found herself standing at the threshold of a profoundly transformative period in her life. After years weighed down by emotional strife, public scrutiny, and the complexities of her long-standing role within a plural marriage, she reached a turning point, one shaped by self-reflection, loss, and an unshakable determination to reclaim her peace. Her departure from Flagstaff wasn't an impulsive decision, but a deeply considered act of self-care, one motivated by her desire to be closer to her daughter Madison and to reconnect with what truly mattered. In leaving behind the turmoil of her past, Janelle wasn't just relocating. She was embarking on a deeply personal journey to healing and self-discovery. Known for her calm demeanor and consistent strength within the Brown family, Janelle had spent decades prioritizing the needs of others. Her quiet reliability had made her a stabilizing presence throughout the ever-evolving dynamics of her shared marriage with Kody Brown and her relationships with the other sister wives. She had long put her own desires on hold, often functioning as the family's grounding force. Now, for perhaps the first time in many years, She was embracing the opportunity to put herself first, not in a spirit of defiance, but from a place of empowerment. This was a chapter of renewal, one that allowed her to nurture herself in the same way she had once cared for her large, blended family. Central to this new life was the launch of her agricultural venture, Tata Farms, a name that evoked both whimsy and hope. The farm, nestled amidst North Carolina's rolling hills and lush greenery, became more than a business initiative. It emerged as a symbol of rebirth and resilience. With her daughter, Madison, and son-in-law Caleb by her side, Janelle immersed herself in the daily rhythms of farm life. The work was grounding and physically demanding, but it also brought with it a profound sense of peace and accomplishment. For Janelle, tilling the soil, planting seeds, and watching crops grow mirrored her internal transformation. Each harvest became a metaphor for the new life she was cultivating, one rooted in authenticity and intention. The story becomes pricklier when Robyn enters the frame. If you have followed our family even casually, you know Robyn often occupies the role of lightning rod. She has, in my opinion, cultivated a narrative that casts her as perennial victim. I hesitate to condemn anyone's coping mechanism. Life is arduous. But patterns matter. Robyn claims we mistreated her and her children, even as Kody showered them with favor. My children harbor deep resentment toward her, convinced she waits for any opportunity to twist their words. Whether that perception is perfectly accurate or somewhat exaggerated, the emotional fallout is undeniable. They are leery of her, and that wariness erects a wall taller than any we could build from cinder block. Respect is reciprocal, and mine dwindled. I do not hurl accusations lightly, yet I struggle to rationalize decisions that fracture rather than heal. Perhaps she senses that dwindling respect and interprets it as hateful disdain. Perhaps that is why she repeats the narrative of persecution. Regardless, the web of triangulation, flattery, and subtle manipulation my kids describe has rendered genuine reconciliation a distant dream. These interpersonal knots illustrate a broader truth. Plural marriage thrives on trust, and once trust erodes, every joint venture, from conflict resolution to holiday planning, turns labyrinthine. Shifting from interpersonal tension to logistical headache, let me walk you through the Coyote Pass land debacle, a saga that could serve as a real estate cautionary tale. Years ago, we purchased a large parcel in Flagstaff, Arizona, envisioning a collective homestead with individual lots and shared dreams. Splitting costs and responsibilities sounded feasible until other crises, emotional, marital, and financial, eroded cohesion. Eventually, Christine traded her share of the property for equity elsewhere, narrowing the ownership pool. That left Kody, Robyn, Mary, and me navigating balloon payments, title divisions, and a contractual boomerang that could yank ownership out of our hands if we missed even one deadline. Tata Farms also took on a deeply emotional significance as a tribute to her late son, Garrison, whose unexpected death in 2024 had left an aching void in her heart. Gardening had been a shared passion between mother and son, a quiet bond formed through countless hours spent outdoors tending to plants and finding solace in nature. In the aftermath of his loss, working the land became a way for Janelle to stay connected to Garrison's memory. Every blossom, every sprout, every new leaf served as a living memorial, a testament to the enduring love between a mother and her child. The farm was infused with his spirit, making it a sacred space of remembrance and healing. Amidst the chores and responsibilities of farm life, Janelle also began to explore facets of herself that had long remained dormant. One of the most significant undertakings during this period was her dive into genealogy. Equipped with boxes of handwritten notes, documents, and family histories left to her by a late aunt, Janelle began piecing together the intricate mosaic of her ancestry. As she traced her lineage across generations, she discovered stories of perseverance, migration, and familial love that mirrored her own experiences. Delving into her family's past gave her a deeper sense of identity, anchoring her in the knowledge that she came from a long line of resilient individuals who had also faced hardship and transformation. This exploration fostered a renewed appreciation for her roots and gave her a greater sense of continuity and belonging. Alongside this internal journey, Janelle made space for new experiences, however small, that brought joy and variety to her daily life. She joined her children for a Korean barbecue dinner, an activity outside her typical comfort zone. It wasn't just about trying new food, it was about being present, laughing freely, and creating joyful memories with her children. These seemingly simple moments carry great emotional weight, serving as reminders that even after immense grief and upheaval, life could still offer laughter, connection, and delight. They underscored a central truth Janelle was beginning to live by. Joy does not have to wait for perfection or stability. It can be found in the everyday. As the new year dawned, Janelle made a powerful declaration. 2025 would be her year of detox. This resolution extended far beyond traditional ideas of physical cleansing. For her, detoxification represented a holistic recalibration, a commitment to shedding the toxicity that had lingered in her life for too long. It was about more than eating whole foods or embracing natural health remedies, though those were certainly part of the equation. At its core, this detox was about